Today we're doing long division. So let's have a look at the information. So long division is repeated subtraction, just like short division. Any form of division is a repeatedly taken away of a group or an amount. The only thing with long division is the subtractions, the repeated subtractions take place underneath, which makes the calculation long, just like long multiplication. You'll have lots of things going on underneath. Also, the information tells us that long division is when you are dividing by 2 or more digits. If you only have 1 digit, then that is short division, and you can use your bus stop method that I taught you in my other video. So let's have a look at the steps to do long division, and we're going to use it with the calculation 888 divided by 37. So step 1, find the first division that you're doing. And the first division that you are doing is not how many 37s into 8, because you can't do that. It's how many 37s into 88. So we've found our first division. Step 2, find the multiplication groups of the fact that goes with that. So what times 37 makes 88 or is closest to 88? So you have to write the multiplications down the side of your page. It's always a tip, the best way to do that. So 1 times 37 is of course 37. But we can get closer to 88, and that's really important. You have to find the closest fact to 88 in the 37 times table. 2 times 37, to get 2 times I just double, so 30 doubled is 60, 7 doubled is 14, and add the 2 together and you get 74. Now that looks like it's going to be my answer, but I'll just do 3 times 37 to show you it definitely is the one. To do 3 times 37, I would add 1 lot of 37 to 2 lots, and then you're going to have 3 lots of 37. So this will be 11, and this will be 10, 11. So 111 is the fact 3 times 37, 3 groups of 37. So out of those 3 first multiplications, the fact that I'm going to select is 2 times 37, and I'm going to take 74 out of 88. So step 3, write the fact on top above the divided number's last digit. Here's our divided number, 88. Its last digit is 8. So above 8, above 8 we write the number 2 because that's the multiplication fact, 37 times 2. And then write the answer to the multiplication underneath the number being divided and then subtract. So the answer to 37 times 2 is 74. You write it underneath the number you're dividing and you subtract. So now 8 subtract 4 is going to leave you 4, and 8 10 subtract 1 10 is going to leave you 1 10. Now you have got the number 14. So this step says bring down the next digit in the division bar, and then you repeat the whole process. So I always used to have a little dance routine at this point to remind the children in my class. After you subtract, you bring down, subtract, and then bring down. It's great, isn't it? So here I've subtracted and I have the number 14. Then I have to bring down any other digits that are still not yet divided, one at a time. So if there was another digit over here, you wouldn't bring both down, just one digit. So I bring this number 8 here. I'll do an arrow to show you. You don't need to do the arrow here. And now I have a new number, 148. I have 37 here. How many 37s in 148? So I found my division. Now I find the multiplication. So far in our 37 times table, we got up to 3 lots of 37. So let's try 4 lots of 37 to see if we can get closer. When I find 4 lots of a number, I just double 2 lots of a number. So here's 2 times 74, double 70 is 140, plus the double 8 is 148. Look. Bingo. So we're on this step. So now we have to write the fact above. So we'll get my blue ready. So the multiplication fact that we have found nearest to 148 is 4 lots of 37. So you write 4 where the last digit is that you divided. So that's where we brought that one down there. And then you do this step. You write the answer to 37 times 4 underneath. So 148. And then you subtract, remember? Anything that comes into here, you're subtracting. So this is going to give us 0, because remember 148 take away 148 is 0. Whenever you have 0, you stop, because you have finished your long division. There is nothing left for you to divide. What I'm going to show you now, though, in the next clip, is how you would carry on if you have a remainder over, if you have a number that you can't divide at the end. So come back to the video for that one. So let's have a look at this one. This one will have a remainder. So we are doing 724 divided by 16. So our first fact is how many 16s in 72. So we do our 16 times table. 1 times 16 is 16. 2 times 16 is double 16, which is 32. 3 times 16, I would always add those together, is 48. Still not near 72. 4 times 16, double 2 times 32 to get 64. That looks like it's going to be a good one for us. 5 times 16. For 5 times, you can half 10 times, and 10 times 16 is 160, which will give you 80. Or you can just add another 16 to 4 times 16 to get 5 lots of 16. Or you can just do 5 times 10 plus 5 times 6. Different ways of doing it. I always use my doubles and halves when I'm doing long division for the multiplication, so it's much more quick. Here though, we found our number 64. So our number 64, we have found our fact, is now 4 times 16. So you write 4 above where the last digit is in the number that you divide. Now you write the answer to 16 times 4 underneath 72, and 16 times 4 is 64. So write that underneath, and then I subtract them. Okay, so you can do this in any way that you want to. You can use your method here if you so wish, but then you have the answer 8. Or you can count on from 64 until you get to 72. So now that you have the answer 8, remember you subtract, you bring down, and the number you're bringing down is 484. So we know that this is going to be what we're subtracting, because actually 16 more than 80 is 96. So that will be the answer to 6 times 16, because you add 16 to that. So we're going to be subtracting 5 lots of 16, 80 from this. So we write our number up here, 5 times 16, and then we write the number 80 underneath. Oops, dropped my lid. And subtract, you're going to be left with 4. Now look, at this stage, you have no numbers left to bring down, and you have finished 724 divided by 16 out of these numbers. But it gives you the remainder. So as a whole remainder, you can write the answer to 724 divided by 16 is 45 remainder 4. So you could do this, 45 remainder 4. Or you could write the answer to that is 45 and 4/16, which if you simplify that fraction is a quarter. Now you might know what a quarter is as a decimal, that's another lesson. So you could write it directly as a decimal, because a quarter is 2/10 and 5/100. But I want to show you how you can do that, because they're not always a quarters, using the division method. And it's a little bit like the short division. So I imagine this is my whole number now. My whole number is finished, so now I have a decimal and I have tenths and I'll have hundredths. And here I'm going to put a decimal because I am now going to be dealing in tenths and hundredths. But I've subtracted and I can bring a 0 down now. So I have the number 40. The nearest I can get to 40 is 2 lots of 16, which is 32. So that's my tenth, 2/10. And then I put the answer to that 2 lots of 16 underneath here. And then I subtract. So I'm going to be left with 8. So 40 take away 32 is 8. And then look, I can bring down the 0 here. You can have as many zeros as it takes along here, as long as you know that they are actually tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so on. So here I would bring down the 0 here, and now I have 80, which would give me my 5. So a quarter is 0.25 because 1 divided by 4 is 0.25, but the whole answer, 724 divided by 16, is 45.25. 45 and a quarter, 45 remainder 4. I hope you understood long division. It's absolutely nothing to be scared and worried about. You just need to make sure that you can multiply, but I've told you some tricks by doubling and halving to do that. And just work through each of these steps. Once you know these steps and you put them in here, you're going to be fine. Well done, everyone.